What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, and welcome to my review of Episode 1 of Green Lantern, the animated series. I've often thought about reviewing each episode of this series, and with so many characters from the show now making their way into the comics, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to do so. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and return for future reviews. And with no further ado, enjoy my review of Green Lantern, the animated series, Episode 1, Beware My Power. The show opens in frontier space with a Green Lantern named Meten, who is attempting to rescue a ship that is seemingly in distress. This turns out to be an ambush by Red Lanterns Razor and Zalias Zox. There were a couple of aspects of this initial sequence that were very effective. One of which was the contrast between the energies of the Green Lantern and the Red Lanterns. The emerald energy that surrounded Meten was calm and neat, whereas the red force fields that surrounded Razor and Zox were crashing and chaotic. The first issue of a comic, or the first movie of a franchise, or the pilot episode of a TV show might well be someone's first experience with a particular mythos. In this case, the animation did an excellent job of showcasing the Green Lanterns as beings of stillness and focus, whereas the Red Lanterns were beings of aggression and anger. I also appreciated how this sequence immediately established the stakes for this show. Meten is knocked unconscious, and the Red Lanterns seemingly cut off his ring hand and brutally murder him. One of the reasons that I find shows like The Strain and The Walking Dead appealing is that the characters are in serious peril. Characters on shows like that die and stay dead, so it makes every action sequence tense and emotional for the viewer. I didn't expect this show to quickly establish that some of the heroes could die, but that's exactly what happened. The show then cuts to Earth, 18 months later, and we see Hal Jordan flying a plane for Ferris Air. He's experienced and skilled enough to actually be bored with what he's doing. But that wouldn't last, as an earthquake quickly forces him into action as Green Lantern. Hal adeptly makes a construct to stop a train from crashing, but since he's now outside of his jet, it crashes instead. This was a perfect moment of levity after such a grim opening scene. Hal returns to Ferris Air, where Carol Ferris is anxiously awaiting word on him. Much like with the Silver Age comics, this show paints the relationship between Carol and Hal as a very complex one. At this point in the narrative, Carol is unaware that Hal is part of the Green Lantern Corps. Hal is obviously taken with Carol, but she's very hesitant since he is her employee. She agrees to a date, but Hal is quickly called to Oa via his ring. The show didn't shy away from the nearly endless functions of a Green Lantern ring, nor did it shy away from the cosmic backdrop of the Green Lantern mythos. Once he is on Oa, Hal is reprimanded by the Guardians of the Universe for attacking a diplomat. The diplomat had accused Hal Jordan of punching him in the face, but Hal said this was false. He actually punched him in the stomach and headbutted him in the face. I thought that this was a well-timed bit of cavalier humor. Hal states that the diplomat is actually running a slave trafficking ring. Ganthet argues that Hal's assertions have been proven true, but Appa Ali Apsa and the rest of the Guardians still seem wary of Hal Jordan's tactics. The show paints the Guardians as aloof, disconnected, and judgmental, with the exception of Ganthet, who has a closer relationship with the Lanterns. We also learn that, much like in the comics, Guardian space is divided into 3,600 sectors. But we also learn that beyond those 3,600 sectors is frontier space, which is defended by frontier lanterns. Hal and Kilowog, who also attended the meeting, are perplexed at the idea of lanterns who not only have no contact with Oa, but who only receive limited training via their rings. To illustrate how woefully insufficient this setup is, Maten's ring flies into the room and lands on the floor. Viewers learn that Maten is not the first Frontier Lantern to go missing, and Hal Jordan is infuriated by the Guardians' unwillingness to investigate the disappearances due to their distance. Due to Hal Jordan's heightened emotional state, Ganthet suggests that they all take a break from the proceedings. In a scene that illustrates how much more compassionate Ganthet is than most of his Guardian counterparts, Ganthet takes Hal and Kilowog to a hangar. There he shows them a prototype ship that is powered by the Emerald Energy and that possesses advanced AI. The story uses Ganthet's facial expressions to show that he knows Hal Jordan well, and he knows that Hal will take the ship, known as the Interceptor, even without the approval of the Guardians, to cover the massive distance between Oa and Frontier Space. This sequence also gives viewers a closer look into the personality of Hal Jordan. When the AI of the ship, which Hal has named Aya, tells Hal that it will take 42 minutes to initiate the Ultra Warp, Hal urges her to bypass the safety protocols and make the Ultra Jump immediately because the lives of Green Lanterns are on the line. The Interceptor takes off into a dangerous wormhole conduit that nearly shakes the ship apart. As both a pilot and a Lantern, Hal Jordan is a man of quick thinking and elite reflexes. Hal has faith in his instincts because they usually serve him well. He takes over the controls of the Interceptor and manages to fly it safely out of the conduit. Aya alerts Hal and Kilowog that there is a Lantern nearby, and this Lantern is losing a firefight. Hal and Kilowog come to the rescue of a Green Lantern named Sheer Rev, who is under attack on a planet by Zalias Zox and Razor. The fight proves to be especially difficult, since in this continuity, the Green Lanterns are unaware that the Red Lantern Corps exists. Kilowog is able to get Sheer Rev back to the Interceptor, but Hal is left one-on-one with Razor as Hal's ring runs out of charge. In a moment that has become iconic to Green Lantern fans, Hal Jordan jumps off a cliff, and as he's falling, he speaks his Green Lantern oath. He lands on the top of the Interceptor. Hal supercharges his ring, and he turns around and unleashes a colossal blast that vanquishes the Red Lanterns just before he passes out. This was the perfect Hal Jordan moment. At his core, Hal Jordan has the confidence, the quick thinking, and most importantly, the will to triumph in even the most dire circumstances. Hal wakes up in the ship, and Kilowog tells him that he's surprised that Hal didn't blow his arm off by charging his ring off of the Interceptor. Hal now knows what they need to do. They need to stay in Frontier Space and track down the Red Lanterns, even at the expense of Hal's date with Carol. This show really hit the ground running, despite not starting at an obvious place, like Hal Jordan being a new recruit, or Sinestro's villainous turn on the Green Lantern Corps. The show capitalized on the successful concepts that had been used in the comics from the mid to late 2000s. The show struck a perfect balance of showing Hal Jordan's life on Earth and the larger cosmic tale of the Green Lantern Corps out in space. I don't have many criticisms of this episode, however it did take me a long time to get used to Kilowog's legs looking like this. I still don't quite understand why they needed to be so stubby. Had Kilowog been more proportionate, he would have been more comic accurate and towered over Hal Jordan. That being said, the visuals for this show were slick, and the animation was much more fluid than much of the computer animation at the time. And there you have it, Green Lantern, Beware My Power Part 1. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.